Good morning, everyone. How are you? I wish everything was okay. This is your third online lecture, Criticism Third Year. I hope this video finds you well. I miss you so much. I wish you could keep yourself at home and stay safe. Of course, throughout the introductory section of your course, we started talking about the different characteristics and the different features of doing the practical criticism. And we tried to write, and I asked you actually to write an essay on practical criticism or applying the critical criticism to that first poem, Love After Love, that we studied through the introductory part of our course. And today we are doing the same process for the second time. But let me start with a few points and a few tips before we go or move to the poem that you are supposed to write an essay on. Understanding the poem, of course, I'm talking about the way or different ways of understanding a poem before you start writing your practical essay, a practical criticism essay. Actually, there are about 6 steps to write this essay or to understand the poem before you start writing your essay analyzing. Students read the poem and think about it using their own literary and worded knowledge in the process. So I told you this before. Please don't try to go and check internet for any background or any information about the poem. Number two, students summarize the poem. Take care, students summarize the poem, establishing a sense of the central opposition in the poem and setting up the controlling idea for the essay as a whole. You write to summarize how to summarize the poem. I mean, paraphrasing the poem, how the poet delivers his image, his themes. Students look more closely at the opening of the poem, trying to see how the poem brings the theme to life, means how the poem introduces the theme. And of course, you know what's the meaning of thematic organization of a poem, and we talked about this before. Number four, students look at another section of the poem trying to build on their analysis of the poem details. So you start reading the first part of the poem. That could be first few lines or verses, the first stanza, something like that. And you are supposed to search for more details within the body of the poem in order to be able to analyze how the poet develops his theme. 5. Students look at how the poem concludes. This means you should find the conclusion, and I told you this a few seconds ago. A poem, any poem has a thematic organization. يعني إيه thematic organization؟ يعني it looks like a essay. الاسي له introduction وبادي وكونكلوجن. الاسي has an introduction وبعدين حصل له development, then the writer of the essay concludes the essay. It's the same, by the way, in writing a poem. The good poet introduces his theme, then he develops his theme, then finally by the closing stanza or the closing verses of the poem, the poet concludes the theme, so his themes. So these are the main 6 steps on how you should understand any poem. Then the second step, how you are supposed to build your response towards the poem. The sixth step will allow you to build an appropriate response. How do you respond to the poem? Your reaction to the poem. Once you have established a sense of the central tension in a poem, they have in effect defined the subject of the poem. So you now can understand the poem, the subject of the poem. Now you can understand the central tension or the topic that forms your response. During this analysis, or your analysis, of course, the poem, you should be encouraged to look at how the poet brings the idea to life, the way he portrays his topics, he presents his topic, how both sides of the opposition have been developed, and how the two plays off against each other. In the case of there is two different ideas, مثلا, how they are opposed to each other, how the poet develops, how he prefers one to another, and so on. This is called your response. You should be also encouraged to examine how, this is very important, please remember the diction used in arrangement of words into patterns brings the life central tension. In building your response, you should and you will gradually see, underline, how the poet complicates the central tension, how he builds his topic. This is very important. يبقى أول حاجة, after the six first steps, your reading and your observation of the different parts of the poem, you should start to find how he introduces, how he develops, طبعا اللي هو الpoet, and how he concludes the poem. Then you start paraphrasing or rewriting the poem in your own idea, understanding how this development of the theme is going on. Then you are encouraged to examine how the diction, and by his selection of diction, you are, or you can form your impression, your response to the poem. So, what are the strategies of building your response? Number one, students build their response in paragraph steps. Students summarize the poem and establish the central tension. You establish your own sense of the larger issue in the poem. You examine how the diction and figurative language bring the tension of the poem to life. You also try to see how the poem's structure complements and helps defines the subject matter of the poem. Students also follow details about every stage pull back, trying to add the case they are building. At the end of each paragraph, المفروض أعمل إيه? You should be able to add to their overall sense of the issue of the poem. So these are some few strategies regarding how you should build your. Then it's the time to know how to write this essay, the shaping of a practical essay, criticism essay. وطبعا ده السؤال اللي دايما نتسأله كل مرة، ازاي اكتبه، ازاي ارتب الافكار بتاعتي. ناخد بالنا بقى كده. رقم واحد, students should be shown how to use the essay's structure as means of structuring and directing their thoughts. يبقى to use the essay structure. يعني ايه essay structure؟ يعني there is body, there is introduction, body, and the conclusion. The first paragraph should be used to get hold of the poem as a whole, in particular establishing a sense of a central tension in the text. يبقى انت في the first paragraph initiate your first response and understanding to the poem. After the first paragraph, students should always combine a discussion of the content with one of the techniques. يعني انت دلوقتي هتبدأ تشوف هو how he develops this his topic, how he delivers his message, طبعا اللي هو الpoet. It might be something logical to structure the essay according to the stanzas forming part of the poem. You could form this. You could initiate this according to the stanzas forming part of the poem. يعني you can discuss the several topics, or you can discuss the several points that are mentioned in your poem and divide them into paragraphs according to the stanza division. يعني مثلا في two stanzas فيهم one idea أو فيهم one theme. أنا ممكن أكتب ده في paragraph واحد فيه theme, ولما يروح لستانزا جديدة فيها theme مختلف I can move to write another new paragraph with a different theme, and so on. At the same time, students should be encouraged to think of their essay as means of building a case في دراسة حالة, and hence each paragraph will need to advance their case about the poem as a whole. في الكونكلوجن بقى is where students pull the threads together. الثريدز البيس and pieces اللي كانت في الستانزز في الباراجرافز اللي انت عملتهم قبل كده بتحطهم مع بعض كلهم. Hopefully after having done adjust their complexity and interest common question. يبقى انا كده بقى word الانترودكشن مرة تانية to introduce the theme of the poem, لكن انا بعملها في شكل conclusion to close my topic. طيب مطلوب مننا ايه بقى؟ مطلوب مننا ان احنا نبص كده على البوم دي اسمها Stolen Rivers. بوم جميلة جدا بصراحة, حلوة جدا هتعجبكم. Please I want you to write an essay of practical criticism على Stolen Rivers. Don't consult the internet please. ان انتم احتمال كبير مش هتلاقوها قوي اصلا. فنكتب الايسي بتاعنا عبارة عن introduction بتintroduces المين ثيم كده والفيرست impression بتاعك. بعد كده اجي في البادي باين عندي كده ان هي ما فيهاش stanzas division, وبالتالي I will find out and I as a writer as a critic هعمل ايه؟ هعمل division internal division كده اشوف هو بيتكلم عن ايه, الايديا دي ازاي developed, راحت فين وانتهت فين, بدأت منين وانتهت فين, وبعدين بعمل conclusion. في البادي بقى انت هتعملوا ايه؟ هتبقوا supervising او مش observing ال using of diction, using of the tone, the mood, whatever of verses or whatever the way of narration or writing or telling the verses البوت هنا عملها, وفي الآخر هنعمل conclusion. طب احنا هنسلم ده ازاي؟ هنسلم ده نكتب بتاعنا على فايل وورد عادي خالص, او حتى بلاش وورد, اكتبوه على وورد عندكم في الكمبيوتر, وبعدين خدوا كوبي من الايسي. محدش يعمل اتاتشمنت للايسي ابدا كوورد فايل, لا, اكتبوا نفس المقاله على صفحه الايميل اللي هي بتكتبوا فيه الايميل بتاعكم العادي, وهنبعته على الايميل اللي ظاهر قدامنا على الشاشه ده دلوقتي. الايميل ده هنبعته على الايميل ده, وفي خلال 2 days من رفع الفيديو ده أتمنى أن يكون أنتوا بديتوا كتبتوا وحملتوا. مع العلم الحاجة الوحيدة اللي هتتعمل attachment وأنتوا بتبعتوا الإيميل إن إحنا هنصور الأي دي بتاعنا ونبعته مع الإيسي في الإيميل. يعني كتبته على الوورد, كتبته مباشر على الإيميل, تتأكدوا إن هو أنتوا عايز النص. أنا مش عايز attachment لأي فايل وورد, لا, أنا عايز النص نفسه ينكتب في الصفحة بتاعة الإيميل, وبعدين تصوروا بالموبايل أو أي حاجة, أو تعملوا سكان زي ما أنتوا عايزين للاي دي بتاع الكلية, ونعملوا attachment بس عشان أربط ما بين اسم الإيميل أو اسم صاحب الإيميل والاسم اللي مكتوب, يعني عشان نحط عليه درجات إن شاء الله في أعمال السنة. أشوفكم على خير. الكلية وحشة جدا من غيركم. أتمنى إن احنا نتقابل قريب بإذن الله تعالى. باي باي.